All right, good morning. It's January 16th, 10:30 a.m. This is the North Watcom Fire District 21 Board of Commissioners regular meeting. I will call it to order and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, I'm Bruce Ansel.
John Crawford.
Craig Anthony.
Joel Nielsen.
Kimberly McMurray.
Matt Ridward.
Jason Vanderbeek.
Any public comment? I'll open the Volunteer Pension Board meeting. We have the approval of the December 19th minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Invoice voucher, pension and disability dues for the volunteers. $2,770. Anything else we need to know about that, Chief?
There was an increase in the pension this year from $60 to $90, and disability increased from 30 to 50 per individual.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve the invoice voucher for the pension and disability dues? Any other discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Any other business for the Volunteer Pension Board? Okay, I will adjourn the Volunteer Pension Board meeting and open the regular Board of Commissioners meeting, and the first item being the approval of the consent agenda. Consent agenda includes the meeting minutes from December 19th, the staff reports, the financial reports, and it's my understanding that the county didn't send us numbers yet, so that Jessica could balance that and share that with us. Is that just because we're too early with our meetings, or are they just too slow?
It's an every January thing. On top of it, they're making a change in their accounting software, so they're double pressed by that.
So it's mostly a January.
It's mostly a January
Okay.
thing.
All right. So the expenditures for January were $1,232,970.61. Employee direct deposit payroll, $513,071.90. Payroll taxes voucher, $134,708.94. Benefits voucher, $289,677.50. Monthly expenditure voucher, $289,077.18. And capital projects apparatus, $6,435.09. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? There were a couple things I had questions about, Chief, in your report. You mentioned that in this audit that we're going through, that we're having to scan documents. Is that different this time?
It is. In the past, we've collected just boxes and boxes and boxes and given it to the auditor and let them sort it out. This time we're scanning and uploading, and that's proved to be a little bit more time consuming.
And do we have to do that?
No, that was a judgment call on my part, thinking that it would be easier and it's turned out to be incorrect.
Can we stop doing it?
I will ask at our next, Jessica and I have talked about like some of the ways that we can streamline this process a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was a requirement by the auditors or we just chose to do it.
No, it's an opt-in and we opted in.
Okay. I mean, personally, for me, the less we pile on to everybody in their daily work, the better. So, just my 2 cents worth. let's see, we talked about the Station 12 and 13 vouchers. That will be reimbursed by District 4. I think it was in your report. Was that? Sorry. Was Kelly's certification thing, was that in your chief's report? Or where did I read that?
No, it's just in the minutes.
Just in the minutes.
Last month, yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I have been remiss about thanking her and congratulating her publicly. And I don't know what SHRM stands for, but
Society for Human Resources Management.
thank you. The exam that she took and passed is normally only passed by what, 60% of the people that take it first time, and she passed it with flying colors. So if you would pass on to her our congratulations and thank her for going ahead and taking that additional training to be a better resource manager. I would appreciate it. I'm sure the board will
Yes.
hopefully echo those sentiments. All right, that's my 2 cents.
Can I ask a question about the chief's report? Chief, under apparatus, your report talks about the engine, the tender, and the 8 car.
Yes,
Have we paid that money yet?
yes, sir, those are all paid for.
In December or January?
Engine's been paid for months. The tender you paid for in December, the 8 car was paid for in November.
Great, I'm just trying to wrap my head around account balances. Thank you.
And the tender came out of money that was approved
Previously
a
approved.
long time ago.
2022. Yes,
So we got the money refunded back. And
Correct.
so money that was spent 2 years ago or authorized to be spent. Any other questions? All right, the consent agenda is before us. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Commissioner meeting reports.
I've got a couple things to talk about, if that's okay.
Okay, well, let's start with Matt.
Geez, a few months ago, we had talked about putting together new strategic plans and the benefits and negatives about that. And I know that's a whole process that brings in more work that we're just not ready to take on. So I sort of took it on myself to begin the process of doing at least a SWOT analysis. So identifying strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for the organization. Amongst other things, I reached out to BNSF to discuss projected traffic coming through our town and the county and those things that would affect us. So our contact over there, I don't know if you know Johan Hellman. Does that name sound familiar to either of you? No? So they're the regional contact for that type of information. I'm still waiting on information that I requested from Johan. But I think that's important to know what's coming through this area in terms of establishing a financial need later should we decide that we're going to go after another levy lid lift. In addition to that, I also reached out to the city of Blaine because they still hadn't updated their quarterly permitting for online. I don't know if you have separate access to it. I don't have separate access to their business and residential permitting. So that stuff should be up soon. And once those two pieces of information are put together, among other information that I'm able to get, I think at least we'll be able to identify in a bigger picture growth patterns that are going to be affecting us adversely as a threat to the organization. So my hope is once that information is available, I'll be able to offer maybe some insight via a presentation for next month's meeting. If I don't have everything I need, then for sure I would have it by March. But those were two very big pieces of the puzzle that we need, especially, I think the permitting for the last quarter of 24 will be significant for us to see. And it just hasn't been updated, but they assure me it'll be up this week. So anyway, I don't know where that would go in this meeting, but I'd like to try to get a presentation scheduled, maybe like 20 to 30 minutes for next meeting to just kind of go over potential challenges facing this organization that we may not have considered.
That'd be helpful, thank you.
Could I add a point? If a big threat to me is the weight limitation on the bridge across the tracks. I don't know who's responsible for that. Who do we start politicking about? It divides our district. It
My
limits
understanding-
weight.
I might be incorrect in this, but my understanding is that there was state-approved funds to redo the bridges to allow more weight. Is that true?
Not quite.
Not quite. I'm partially correct. We'll listen to the chief.
Yeah, so there is the Bell Road Peace Portal regrade, I guess for lack of a better word, is on the state's radar. They're finally putting money towards looking at doing the studies and designing it, and part of that regrade is the Dakota Creek Bridge, because it's not capable of holding anything. I don't think that project, I don't think I will be able to attend the ribbon cutting at that project. Probably won't be here anymore, but they're at least starting. And that, they put money into it. It's something, it's on my radar to talk to the legislators about when Commissioner Ansel and I go down for Ledge Day in February, along with a few other things, is to keep heat on that project. When I see them doing the upgrade at the border, I'm hopeful that, and then they're also talking about this high-speed, 50 million for high-speed rail, which I can't imagine will go on that line, but I'm hopeful that some of this money for, that's coming up this way is gonna hit that, is gonna be put into that project. Because you're right, it splits us in half, and it splits us in half now, and after even a moderate seismic event, it's gonna be even worse. Because then we won't even be able to get 8 cars across that thing.
Great. Sorry to get us off track, but it bothers me.
My intention is, once this information, and Cliff, you probably know Cliff from the city, he's the permitting guy, but once everything is available to me that I need, I was going to put together, or am going to put together, just an email to our stakeholders internally here to provide input on their views of strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threat. So then at least we have something holistically to look at and put into our brain for strategic planning, because I'm an advocate for that, and I do believe that will be beneficial.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do we know what the weight of a fully loaded school bus is with 2 or 3 trucks and 5 cars sitting on that bridge waiting for the train to go through?
The gentleman sitting next to you might have a better idea than I would.
Depends on what they eat for lunch that day.
I mean, there's just so many safety reasons why this thing shouldn't be replaced. And that, if I remember correctly, a few years ago, when we were talking about it, it wasn't until 2032 or something like that, that it was slated.
It was 2035.
2035, that it slated for any sort of upgrades or work.
So
I know that they inspected it recently. They were out there looking over the edge, but,
Oh, really?
I don't know if that was for that purpose or not, but yeah, there.
maybe they were counting seals or something. I don't know.
If we could articulate that a standard traffic flow exceeds weight limit and creates a hazardous situation, is it possible we could reach out for federal funding? And call that an emergency for services to the area?
I'm curious if there's a way, I don't know if you've heard Blaine's talking about moving their UGA from East Blaine to the
Yeah.
Semiahmoo area.
Yeah, I saw that.
And what that increase in traffic would do. I mean, there's still only going to be 2 ways to get to I-5 from the Semiahmoo, from Birch Point area. And so I don't know how much daily traffic that will increase on that bridge.
Well, it
People coming to Blaine for its services.
looks like it'd be a significant amount.
I think it would be. I just don't know that number. So I think all those things,
For some reason, I thought that they were talking about like quashing that already.
the
move of that over to the Semiahmoo area.
I had a meeting with the city manager yesterday, and there's a lot of variables.
Okay.
Obviously infrastructure costs, what it costs to put in, those kind of things. Sounds like there's a partnership with Birch Bay Water and Sewer that would need to go into place. There's the water issue that's been ongoing for years. That the city knows that they're not going to get signed off by anybody. There's runoff from that area into, the Birch Bay area. There's a myriad of problems. It's not a slam dunk. So.
Mr. Murray.
My items are on a much lighter note.
Good.
So on January 9th at 6:30 in the morning, Delaney and I met to submit the Firehouse Subs grant because it opened at 7 a.m. Eastern time. And all kudos to her. She did all the research, all the work. She used numerous resources. It really takes a village to put a grant together, and she did an outstanding job. So I was just her support person in case labor started. But we got it submitted, and they can take up to 3 months to decide. So and that's for the bunker gear. So kudos to Delaney for all of her hard work and lots of time and lots of effort. Also heard from the Red Cross. Their next Sound the Alarm event is March 15th through April 11th. So they would like us to partner with them again. They'll pick a community here.
This is the
Birch Bay
smoke
Lane.
detector installation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if there's a particular Saturday in that time frame that works best for us, we can grab it on their calendar.
You email me that?
Yes.
That it?
I attended the all county via Zoom. There wasn't much going on. They were all talking about legislative day. Rob Roy's gonna stay on as president. He would like to stay on as president. He requested that until the report that is being done by the county is completed. So, it's kind of a status quo there.
All right. I have had multiple communications with our electeds. Representative Larson, you saw in your packet, we sent a letter requesting funding for our radios, and his office was supposed to write a letter to AFG in support of our request. Also, Senator Schumacher wrote a letter to Larson's office supporting our request. So she explained it like, okay, so, she's his constituent, we're her constituents, and the more constituents that push up the ladder, the squeakier the wheel. So, and then I've asked for a meeting with Representative Larson sometime this year, beginning of this year, as well as I have a meeting on February 3rd with Alicia Rule, and then Jason and I are going down to Ledge on 5-6 of February to discuss all of these issues and concerns that have been brought up here today, as well as some others. So I think that there are pools of money out there that can be tapped into if the right arguments are made and the right people are contacted. So that's my goal, is to pound the pavement. Jason and I went to the school district open house. And I really thought it was going to turn into kind of a levy support discussion, but it really was all about pointing the fingers at the legislature for not properly funding schools. And our three representatives were there, Timmons and Rule and Schumacher, and I think most everyone that spoke said the state needs to step up and do their part, because even when the school districts pass levy proposals right now, because the funding level is you know, at least 10% lower than it used to be from the state. All that extra money that was for enrichment is going to just day-to-day operations. So it's in order for them to meet their budget shortfalls, they're using the levy money that people vote for special things. They're just trying to keep their staff employed. So we kind of went hoping that we would maybe glean some ideas for how to do our next levy lid lift. But like I said, it was like all state. And of course, our three representatives are in favor of and have sponsored bills for the schools. It's like any other large political organization. There's a few people in key positions that hold the keys, and unless they're convinced, then it doesn't move forward. So I think it's getting a statewide attention, and I think everyone has to contact their legislators across the state if they want school funding to be enhanced. The interesting part of that for us is all of these places that are underfunded put pressure on us, right? Where if we were the only group going out for a levy lid lift, we might have a better chance and be more successful. But school districts got to come out with a levy lid lift and a bond. And now the library district's got to go out for a levy lid lift. And then BB Warm, who is the water runoff group that is a separately funded thing, has to go out for an increase. And the county takes an 11% increase. And people are tired. They don't want increases anymore. And so by not properly funding the schools, it just all flows downhill and makes our job harder. So I guess that was my learning point from that. Anyone else? 106 report.
Good morning. Yeah, first I'd like to thank Commissioner McMurray and Delaney for the work on the grant. Delaney sent out a lot of stuff for us all to fill out, and she put a lot of time in, both of them, so thank you. We just got the new people. They're the fourth right now on all the crews, and they're going to go to Academy here pretty soon, so got to meet with all of them. Pretty excited for those new people. Recently just went to ALTS, the leadership down in New Orleans. So myself and Kyle Blackburn from the airport learned quite a bit down there. That was pretty impactful. We were like 3 blocks from where the tragedy was. So got to see the crews who were first on scene. So the local donated to the Firefighters Association down in LA for all that stuff going on. And the last thing I have is Rob Mulrooney has taken it amongst himself for the last couple of years to keep track of all the call volumes, or the calls each member goes on, to acknowledge just who's running how many calls. And so these plaques are for the administrative station, and we have them all at all the stations paid for by the union, just to kind of give kudos to people. So
Look forward to seeing them. So thank you. Fire Marshal report.
Yes, well, we've already kind of talked about some of the items. The East Blaine, moving the UGA down to Semiahmoo. What I do know about that is there's the SEPA determination or review, something, it expires in July. And so they can't move on decommissioning the UGA to the East Blaine until after it's expired, because it's still active. And what I found out was, to decommission UGA, apparently it's never been done before in Washington State. So it takes a supermajority apparently, and if they can pull it off, it'll be the first time ever in Washington State. So, but yeah, then moving the UGA down to Semiahmoo. But like the shared water line the chief had mentioned, They have to get a reliable source of water over there because, the single source crossing the channel, if something were to happen to that, Samiama would be without water, other than a small amount that they can draw from the tie-in over at Horizon.
Was there an impact study ever completed for the east one or no? They had never gotten that far, right?
For what now?
For the UGA, that was the proposed move to Semiahmoo, was there an environmental impact study?
I don't think they've put any money into it
So
yet.
nothing's been done.
No, until,
Referring to is, was there any type of impact study for the East Blaine location?
that's all been done in the past. Yeah,
We do have all of that, so we can,
yeah. And
Why
they have some
reasonably-
infrastructure already in place for the East Blaine, which is now going to be abandoned. Well, I mean, they'll maintain it, but it won't be upgraded to accommodate the new homes that we're planning on being out there.
you can port some of that information over to Semiahmoo just to give a rough idea of what the impact would be.
Homes develop, number of, occupancies, and yeah, we could probably,
And Semiahmoo would be more restrictive, at least, I think, in the development, or hope.
New construction, just a little update. We've got 2 facilities that are currently being constructed that are a little bit exciting to some community members. One of them is a medical facility over there on Grant in the neighborhood by the new truck stop, and also a car wash. And after the meeting today, I'll be going to O'Reilly Auto Parts to do a final fire inspection on that. So that should be open soon. And I know just the last thing I got is something the community has been asking me for months and months now. Paso del Norte is opening today. And that's all I have. Any questions for me?
Yeah, is there enough water for fire flow on Semiahmoo Spit?
Yes, currently, yes.
But if more development comes in, then there would, unless
Yeah.
you do those tie-ins.
I'd have to get the numbers, but they have enough water currently with the channel crossing to install another, I think it's 250 homes. And then
How
then
many-
they're gonna they're gonna redo the study to make sure that everything's still in line with that.
It's in the forefront of everyone's minds how Los Angeles went down. So what is our capability water line wise if we were to have a fire spread through the Semiahmoo community? Would we be able to fight 3 fires at a time with sufficient water pressure?
Yes. There's a lot of water available for Semiahmoo. Yeah, and the pumps, like the pumps at the channel crossing themselves. Typically, there's only, from what I understand, there's only one that ever really turns on. There's two big pumps there to push water up to that area.
And then as we move further south and east, it becomes less of an issue, right? We have much more water supply south and east into Whatcom County itself, away from Blaine.
That's where the proposed shared line between Blaine and Birch Bay Water and Sewer. They want to put a new line in that'll supply more water to that area. But they haven't started that project yet. It's just in the beginning phases right now.
Anyone else? Unfinished business, Birch Bay Station 63. I see that we have an
there's a draft
RFP, something?
RFP, request for proposal. It's
Yes.
a draft RFP. I was hoping that the board could take a look at it. I will send it out to the attorney as well. And then publish it. I'll find out from Richard Davis what his recommendation for length of time for publishing and all those sorts of things are, and get moving on that project. So I want to give credit to Battalion Chief McPhail and Deputy Fire Marshal Nielsen. They did a lion's share of the work on this. Just figuring out which wax we needed to call out, which NFPAs for sprinklers, that kind of thing. So they did more of the technical work.
And what do you need from us?
Also, I wanted to show you that we were making some progress.
And we appreciate that.
And just a nod, just a nod that, you're good for us to continue moving forward with this project.
I am, absolutely. Anyone else got any objections or concerns? Perfect, let's get this thing rolling. Semiahmoo, the station that continues to play.
I met with Mike Harmon, the city manager of Blaine, and we talked about obviously what's going on in California right now. And we talked about Semiahmoo and growth and moving UGAs, and I didn't know that it was the only or the first time ever. And as I had alluded to the board prior, I don't think it's wise for us to get rid of that station. And that was what I told Mr. Harper, that could not officially rescind the letter, but I would appreciate it if he would tell me that the city's not interested in moving forward, which they're not at this time. He agrees that there might be a time in the future, maybe see how this UGA transfer goes, see what happens, but at this point, they are not interested. Much as I hate it, it's still in the path of progress. I think we need to retain it. I think it'd be foolish to give away physical property at this point in an area like that. And then I'll double down and say the California thing, in talking with several fire chiefs this week about just how transposing that over the top of our county, how we have multiple areas that are at risk for an area, something like that. And Semiahmoo is, even multiple fire chiefs in the county identify Semiahmoo as one area where we could see something, a UGI type fire, or WG, yeah, wildland urban interface fire. So my recommendation to the board is that we maintain it in a dormant state. We do the necessary maintenance to keep it up. At a minimum, I'll check the heat. I'm not sure why we have a big gas bill this month, but that's my recommendation. I know it's a bitter pill, but I think that is the best course of action.
Is this an action item today?
It's not. I'm just giving you an update.
But my hope is that you find whatever support you need for your idea. I think there's too many moving balls right now to do away with that station. The only reason that I thought about that station as I began to learn more about the district was as a potential funding source. But it'd only be a one-time funding source. We have systemic funding problems that we have to figure out how to overcome. So if the board ever gets to a point where it needs to give guidance, mine most certainly will be that we just need to put that Station 62 on the back burner for right now, on doing anything with it. Plus, I don't think I want to be in the neighborhood, the more I think about it, walking the streets of Semiahmoo once the foreign automotive parts store goes in there and there's 37 MGs parked in the parking lot. So just being facetious, it most certainly has a few downsides as well as ups. So my counsel is we just kind of table this issue for a while.
Anyone else? Matt?
It's a lengthy discussion. I don't think it's one that we can be addressing here. I just would want to know what it's going to cost us to hold on to it. I know what the potential cost is of letting it go, and I don't take that lightly. But 3 months ago, we were going back and forth, and I was saying we should probably keep it after we were talking about getting rid of it, and I was talking about similar concerns, and I was ping-ponged back over to saying, all right, yeah, no, it does make sense financially. We have to get rid of it. And now being told we need to keep it makes total sense when the optics of today makes complete sense to me. But what does that mean? Like, what does that actually translate into financially? Like, because we need a station there. I don't think any of us say we don't, but we also have no money. So how does this pan out? What does it look like? What are we gonna have to sacrifice to keep it, if anything? Is it short-sighted now to say get rid of it? Probably, especially knowing what we know now. But it's a much lengthier conversation than what we have time for today. So I would suggest that we probably put this on something where we can talk about it more in depth.
Agreed. I think what Jessica and I need to do is put together what it costs annually to keep that station afloat. Take out any large capital expenses, upgrades, but look at the utility costs, look at those kind of things, and look at it on an annual basis. Like what is the cost of this, just maintaining the Semiahmoo station?
I'd also like to know the cost of what it would take to make it run, minimally staff it, like we had discussed also. And part of the reason for that, Chief, is because none of us in this room have the same optics that we did 3 weeks ago. Everyone in the country is looking at fire services differently right now. And in and amongst all the finger pointing and blame, we have a fire district that needs money. And again, none of us could have anticipated that we potentially could be talking about a levy lid lift so soon after this recent, failure. But maybe the community might see it differently if it was presented differently now too. So, this tragedy is awful. My brother lives there. He had to have his evacuation, mandatory evacuation. But we have this as a recognized, visible threat to our community. And does that present now an opportunity for additional education and a potential to try this again sooner than we had anticipated, along with keeping a station that we had just talked about getting rid of? Things are changing in real time dramatically before us. So I think all of that should be back on for discussion. I'd like to know what my peers think.
I agree.
I'm
Articulate it well.
shocked by the vouchers for Station 62 this month. Natural gas, $681. Water and electric, $454.
Is it possible someone's living in there?
Quarter,
No, okay.
Linden sheet metal, $400, which is a quarterly payment, not monthly, but I mean, we spent more in natural gas at an unoccupied station than we did at headquarters by over $200. Something's not right there. The thermostat either got turned up or, like I said, we got somebody living in there.
I can't speak to the thermostat. Like I said,
Or we have a leak.
that's,
But what does Linden sheet metal do?
they go out and do the quarterly maintenance on the heaters and everything. It's just part of our ongoing,
Yeah,
preventative
but I
maintenance.
mean,
So,
they would check for leaks, right?
yes.
Okay, so it's probably not a leak. But, gas and electric, what do we, is the
Well,
heat in there gas or
It's
is,
gas.
okay, so $454 for water and electricity?
Not to speak ill of my counterparts in the city of Blaine, but when you have a commercial building in Blaine, that's what you pay. It's very, look at 61's
Is that their
water.
base rate?
For commercial, yeah, we're considered commercial. There's no cutout for us.
Wow. Okay. So my next question would be, since you had a discussion with the city manager and they have said they don't want it, does that then get rid of that obligation contract? Or does that
That's a
still?
Richard Davis question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
And
like to know that, because we were, per that contract, said we offer it to the city, and if the city doesn't want it, then it becomes ours forever.
So I did ask Mr. Harmon for some written communication, not just verbal, and he's gonna get that to me. And it could depend on what that written letter says, but I'll work with Richard Davis on that.
Yeah, because, I don't, either it's ours or it's not. Did we fulfill our obligation per that agreement? and if we did, I don't want to have to go through this again personally. I mean, at that point, if we were to decide that we can't afford it or we've got to get rid of it, we could sell it, or rent it, or whatever it is that we need to do. But I don't want to have this obligation to the city.
You can't rent it because it's not happening.
What is?
No,
Isn't-
we'd have to, there's some,
You have to do some major upgrades.
the railings upstairs would have to be
Oh,
fixed.
just, that's what ropes for.
How about the zoning for that station? Could be,
I don't know what the zone is.
I'll have to look it up.
Anyway, if you could find that out, that would be awesome. Anyone else?
Can we put that on as an agenda item for,
It's always on as an
Well-
unfinished business item.
okay, because that's a lengthy conversation. I think right now we have to have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jenny will be happy to put that on.
Thank you, Jenny.
As well as Station 63. All right, meeting schedule, resolution 2025-01. I think the only change that we had recommended for that was the Juneteenth from the 19 to 20. Is everyone, first of all, is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-01?
Sure. Move to approve.
All right. Does anyone have any angst over the dates and times that have been proposed? It's the same third Thursday of the month at 10:30 here, with the exception of the June 20th. Comments, questions, concerns, objections? All in favor? Unanimous. Any other unfinished business?
Was there any follow-up regarding the letter about the air quality in 62 or 63?
Yes. I believe. Yes, we have, I'll share this with you. We do have a letter drafted, a response.
Okay.
Letter. That we can share later. New business. So every January, we talk about board positions and representations at outside meetings and committees and communities. So this is your time to raise your hand and volunteer to take on whatever it is you're interested in. But I guess we have to have an election for board chair and vice chair. So I will open nominations for board chair.
First, I nominate Commissioner Ansel.
I too nominate Commissioner Ansel.
Is there any other interested parties in being board chair? Hearing and seeing none. Is everyone in favor of me continuing to be board chair?
Aye.
Right, takes care of that. Vice chair. Currently, Commissioner McMurray is holding that position. Is there anyone interested in the vice chair position? Are there any nominations for the vice chair position?
Kimberly McMurray?
You don't end up
Been moved
nominating
and
yourself.
seconded. Anyone else interested? All in favor?
Aye.
Kimberly McMurray continues as vice chair. Congratulations.
I've worked very hard for that.
All right.
That's right.
So representation at outside meetings. I'll start. I've got the Birch Bay Chamber that I see just paid our annual dues to. Unfortunately, their meetings coincide with our meetings. They happen on the third Thursday, but that isn't an issue for me because I have a great rapport with the director and the people that work at the chamber, and I probably stop in and see them at least once a week. So keep up on their issues and coordinate. And then I have applied for the Birch Bay Advisory Committee position with the county to represent the public safety needs of that community. I have not heard anything back yet, but I'm assuming since none of you applied that it's possible that I might get selected for that position. And I think that's another monthly or more meeting to get started.
It's the pressure reducing valve.
I was gonna say, is my hearing aid going on? So those are, and I mean, I have kind of worked with the chief on the legislative side of things, and my goal is to continue to meet, hound, talk to our local, state, and national representatives on issues that impact us, whether they be transportation, safety, roads or evacuation, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my new goal this year, is to be more politically active. Yes.
What about Birch Bay Village and that community?
I'm in there all the time.
Okay.
David Franklin and I are in regular communication, which reminds me, I was in there the other day, and in his office were 4 AEDs. And I asked him about them, and he said, well, because the levy lid lift didn't pass, we need to be better prepared in here. And so they are embarking on a training program and placement of 4 new AEDs. One will be in their security vehicle, one will be up at the main office, one will be down by the community center and the rec center. So they recognize that our responses are delayed, and they're trying to improve that. I think their training is being done. There's a Bellingham firefighter that lives in there, female. She's on their safety committee. She's been supposedly coordinating that training, but I asked him to provide me with the information when they get them in operation and the locations that they will be at. And then he can disseminate that to the crews and let 63 know that if they show up and someone's got an AED hooked up to the patient, it's something that they have been trained on. Which I thought was pretty cool, because if you travel around the US and Europe, they're everywhere. All right, so Craig, you have expressed an interest in participating at the city council.
There's 3 of them
Okay.
that I kind of have an interest in. Semiamu Breakfast Club. I don't know if we do anything with the HOA or not. And then the Blaine City Council, since I live here, although if Kimberly really wants to keep doing Blaine, I won't get in her way.
I would be happy to pass George to you.
Oh, thank you. So those are the
If
ones
I
that,
lived there, it would be different.
True. You've got the school district to do.
I have this.
We have had presentations before the HOA before. Chief can probably give you our contact information. If nothing else, it's nice to just stop in and put a face on it and
Right.
just say, hey, here we are. By the way, do you know that all these new houses you're building is causing a problem for us?
I consider it to some extent just to allow folks to say, hey, how about those fires in Southern California? Could something happen here? So just have a presence.
Right.
So it's, you have no authority, but at least put a face to the district.
Perfect. John, you're kind of our ad hoc county commissioners guy. Is that, and I think
I'm
Matt
supposed to be the
is-
guy, yeah.
Matt is the guy. You guys want to share that or what?
I'll take it,
You sure? Okay.
unless you really want it.
No, it needs to with somebody else.
Yep.
Be good for somebody else to dip their toe in the water.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Matt's gonna handle the Whatcom County Commissioners meetings. What would you like to do?
I'm content.
You're gonna drive bus and ride your motorcycle?
Pretty much.
Hey, Bruce, if I can volunteer myself for something,
Yeah,
who is
we're
our,
moving our way.
oh, I thought, because my
Yeah,
name.
no, we're not.
My bad, sorry.
I'm
Please
I'm
continue.
getting there. I'm getting,
Continue.
I just want to put a little pressure on Crawford.
I stepped on somebody's toes. My bad.
That's it?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Appreciate your efforts.
You bet.
I know that in a pinch, you'll come through and help us out on
Oh, yeah, not a
those.
problem.
And
Yeah.
I value your experience in this community because, like, you know where a lot of skeletons are, but
It's
you
not a
know,
good thing.
you know a lot of, you know historically a lot of people who were connected to certain things, and that's valuable information when it comes to.
It's good to have friends in low places.
So we will have you on our call out list.
Okay,
All right.
that's fine.
Kimberly, I know you're our grant person, and that's a huge responsibility. Is there any other, like the Laurel Community Club or the Wiser Lake?
Cattlemen's Association, the Berry Growers Association.
I know I'm working on how to have a bigger presence in Laurel and Reagan School District.
I think being present at some of this stuff is important.
I'm present every day at the school, so.
There you go.
There you go.
But just as Craig said, you know, getting our face out there and oftentimes a question comes up where you have an opportunity to say, oh, you know, by the way, are you tired of the train crossing, or do you not like the fact that we can't provide this service or that service? Or someone says, wow, I called 911 and it took 20 minutes for the crew to get there. It's like, well, it's because they were on another call. So,
Speaking of that, can we get this sign updated out there in Laurel? And what I'd like to do is total calls for the year, and then see how many of those were overlapping for the year. Like here's call load, here's a percentage of overlapping for the year, just to get it out there.
We can. I would actually encourage you to, or I'd ask that you hear Commissioner Anthony's perspective on the overlapping of current calls. I think we're losing people on that number.
you're losing me on it.
So I wouldn't mind if we could come up, I think total number of calls is great district wide. I just think we need to come up with a simpler,
Verbiage that people don't know what concurrent or overlapping means.
right.
With the tagline, by the way, we are full-time, not volunteer. I still get people.
I know.
We'll work on that. That's another topic because I owe Commissioner Rigberg an opportunity to tell us, other than the Washington, or the state, county commissioners meetings, is there anything else?
Would it behoove us to have regular representation at the senior center? I know we have contacts there, but wouldn't do anything.
Well,
since
the
it seems-
new the former contact doesn't work there.
Well, we have the new person that we just met recently, like 2 months ago. That's what I'm
Pete
talking about.
Nelson,
I can't remember his name.
he's gone.
He's gone. So the
Yeah.
guy that we just met is gone.
Well, I'm not, was I at that meeting?
You were.
when we did the
Yeah.
levy lit, well, that was a long
It
time
wasn't
ago.
that long.
It was a year ago. Pete's gone.
Okay. all right.
Much to my dismay, there was a political coup
No.
that went through, as oftentimes happens in organizations like that, and he no longer works there.
Okay, so maybe I'll
Yeah.
partner up with them.
I know that the crews go there every Thursday.
They're there right now.
Okay,
Oh, nice.
they do blood pressure checks.
Probably do
but-
mine too.
But that,
I'm just throwing that one out.
no, because he was a super supporter of us.
Yeah,
And
it was
he
a good
was an
relationship.
amazing man, and unfortunately, they did not renew his contract.
Okay, so that's one that I'd recommend that we have some presence. But the other one that we need is some type of representation meetings at our level with the sheriff's office and the police. I'd like to establish a relationship there.
Okay? That might be right up your expertise.
I think it is, in my wheelhouse.
Okay. That's a lot. But I think we need to get out there. Chief, do you have any other places or ideas or thoughts on where we need to be? I think Birch or Blaine quit doing their what's their board, their chamber. I think the chamber kind of tanked. Yeah. I don't have, do you know anything about that? I know that the person that was running it ran away screaming.
I thought it was actually closing. I thought they were closing that little building by the food stand there. Is that what you're talking about?
They have a chamber, and it sounds like, according to Birch Bay Chamber, that they kind of imploded. So
Yeah, I had heard that they were closing their actual building.
So, I mean, I think we were members of that as well, weren't
We
we?
were.
We haven't renewed our dues.
Can we get a refund?
We haven't paid dues this year. So.
Perfect.
All right. Anything else you can think of, Chief?
No, just, I suppose it goes with the chairperson's job to kind of be on call for county council emergencies or.
Sure. Yeah, I'm your last minute meeting guy, so. If there's issues like through the chiefs or the commissioners that we need to know about, Matt, that either you can't go to or you think I should go to, let me know.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right. Policies. So the first one that we are going to look at is the assistant fire chief job description. Had a lot of work done on it, a lot of track changes, and a final copy here, but it's my understanding that there have been some last minute potential updates, changes to that document.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I would like us to move this forward as quickly as possible. We've been kicking this one down the road for a couple of years. And I know that Commissioner Anthony has had some concerns or at least some suggestions, but I don't want to wait another 30 days to see all of those so that we can put our signature on it. So I'm recommending that Commissioner Anthony give us his Reader's Digest version of what he would suggest needs to be done to this document. And I know that there was a lot of time and effort put into it, and I appreciate the fact that you sent it out to us for input, and there is some input. So, but I don't want to say you guys meet tomorrow, you finalize it, and then it sits on your desk for 30 days to come back for our signatures. So is that, I would like to, well, I'm going to let Commissioner Anthony talk, and then I have a suggestion. So.
Well, I talked to the chief yesterday. I'm primarily interested in the first 3 pages because the rest is real boilerplate stuff that needs to be in there. And I looked at this from 2 different perspectives. One perspective is as an applicant for this position, this is our sales pitch to some regard because a candidate, potential candidate, is going to be reading this and decide if they want to come here or not. So that's one perspective. I've applied for jobs like this before, got some, didn't get some. So sadly, I've got experience. The second perspective I have is my main focus on the board. It comes across kind of screwy, but it's about the staffing levels and the real issues we have with our funding issues going out and wanting to be able to make sure the priorities are given in where I think are appropriate. So first of all, when I read this, and again, I wasn't part of the process, so I'm kind of the last guy in the door. The way the first 3 pages of this document reads, it is an assistant chief. I mean, the purse, if I got $10 for every time the word assist is in this document, I probably could buy a new tool. Also, from reading this, my takeaway as having applied for these jobs is if I looked at an org chart, I'd see the chief and our names would be in the same box. His name would be a lot bigger and be bold, and I'd be kind of a little afterthought in the same block with him. Well, I think organizationally, that just doesn't work well. It doesn't work well from systems I've been in. So to have the first 2 things that kind of sets the tone for me, I would change the title and division. I changed the title to deputy chief. That's a line officer. Assistant chief to me, or staff chief or those kind of things, they don't send the right message that this is a line officer. In the division, I know probably the reason administration is the division has to do with how our accounting system works. You can see it break through. It's just anybody familiar with our accounting and how we look at all the budget stuff, they see division is really an accounting subset. Again, not a good word. The division should be operations. So for me, as a deputy chief, the division is operations. And then a lot of their paragraphs that says assist / and or supervise. So I'm looking at a duty statement here that I'm applying for a job. And I don't know if I'm going to supervise anyone because it says and or. And it just doesn't send out to what this job is. From talking to the chief and the chairman, my takeaway on this position is it's the number 2 position in the fire department. It supervises the operational battalion chiefs. It supervises training. It supervises hopefully health and safety as well, because safety and training goes along. The fire chief supervises fleet. I'm trying to convince him he needs to keep supervising fire prevention because I've got more scars from fire prevention as a fire chief than I ever got from anything else. And then he supervises, real important to me, that he supervises directly finance and HR. Because the last thing I want as I deal with primarily the financial side of the department is I got to ask the board chairman to talk to Jason, to talk to the deputy chief, to talk to Jessica. So I want the chief to be hands-on like he is. Also, with that kind of organizational structure, there's a couple of things that will happen. One, the chief's wife is going to like us a lot because you get a strong deputy chief in here of operations. That deputy chief is going to have, let's say, is on Monday through Friday or however it works. And now on this next Saturday and Sunday, the chief's going to kind of provide coverage. Well, if I'm the deputy chief of operations, I can just tell the BC, if something comes up on Saturday, why don't you give me a holler first before you bother the chief? So in order to attract the strongest candidates, what the candidates are looking for is operational training, because that really helps when you go to the next level. Operational training, be able to say I was an ops officer. And of course, the other thing they look at, I joked with the chief, but if I was applying for this job, I'd know how many kids the chief has, how many college tuitions and weddings does he still have yet to pay for. So I'm deciding, am I coming here for 4 years to get great operational experience and then be able to move to another department? Or are all of Jason's kids out of the house and I got a shot that he's going to want to get that RV after all? So I think we need to really tighten this up, make it abundantly clear in the duty statement, job description of who they supervise. So having been involved in large departments, when stuff goes wrong, everyone's looking for who to blame, who's responsible. I don't see in this duty statement what you're responsible for in detail. So I'm kind of a big, you got to measure it to manage it. So I just think the generalities in the statement actually distract from getting strong candidates, which what we're going to look at. And by my closing statement will be, and it doesn't bother me that somebody comes and takes our job for 4 or 5 years and then moves on to Bellingham or moves on to someplace else. Because when they move, the next time we go out, they go, we ought to look at this plane job. It can be a stepping stair, stone, something, slippery rock, something to be able to say, hey, I go and do a good job for those guys in Blaine as a deputy chief. I've set myself up to go someplace else. And hopefully Jason Kidd's a little older. So I would like the opportunity to go to the office tomorrow and work with HR or the chief or whoever with some ideas. There's some duty statements out there already that have been put out in Washington for deputy chief's job that I wouldn't be beyond taking about a half of them and get them into that first 3 pages, sink it down, and that's a recruiting tool. So just my perspective.
We had a great phone conversation yesterday, and then talking with my crew in the office. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I'm pretty sure that's the definition of insanity. So I've said that I want to break the mold, and so I'm ready where my mouth is. And I think Commissioner Anthony has some wise counsel, and I would like to work with him on further refining this before it's finalized.
And, I think the intent is not to not appreciate all the work that was done on this and where I don't want anyone, especially Kelly, to think that, they hated it, they don't trust me, they don't like what I wrote. I think the reason you sent it out is for some wise input. And I appreciate the experience that Commissioner Anthony brings to the organization, and I think his points are well met. So with that, I'd like to hear from anyone else about their thoughts I'm suggesting that we task Commissioner Anthony with meeting with the chief and HR and tweaking this thing. But we all know what the intent is, and that's to get a great candidate and take some workload off the fire chief. I'm looking at the signature page. It appears that it just has my signature on it, and I'm willing to sign it on behalf of the board once they make their tweaks. If everyone needs to see it before that, fine, but I don't want to wait 30 days to bring it back to us so that we can say yay or nay and then send this out. I'd like to have this thing sent out before our next meeting. So anyone else has any concern?
Before the next meeting, do you have a timeline, like 2 weeks or a week? Or?
That's between, these guys are meeting tomorrow. I'd say no more than 2 weeks, personally. I mean, I can't tell you what your work schedule is, but I'm thinking you guys meet for a few hours, you're gonna have this thing hammered
Yeah.
out. And then I'd be happy to meet, sign it, do whatever needs to be done if the board is okay with that.
We needed this position filled a year ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So whatever can be done to expedite the final process, since we've narrowed it down, I think is an excellent idea.
All right, so I'm gonna move that after the chief and Commissioner Anthony meet and tweak this job description, that they contact me for a signature so that it can be finalized and sent out.
Great. Second.
Seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for bringing that forward, and thank you for your valuable input. So next is the fire inspector assignment profile. Another job description. This one originally was concerning to me because it sounded like it was a new position. And I think the intent was to have an assignment for someone, an individual, hopefully coming up through our ranks, that would be interested in learning this job and getting some time with their deputy fire marshal and then being able to take classes. And so I believe we retitled it to an assignment profile. And sort of limited some of the hours that it would be required to do. And it's, again, my understanding that this is not a separate position. It's someone who would be doing this in addition to their current assignment and duties.
Correct. So yes, just so you guys know, there was some confusion about labeling it as a separate job description. So we just looked up what's other things we can do. We call it an assignment profile. Someone is going to be assigned for those 8 hours or while they're in training to that position. When there's succession planning, that elevates to the next level. This is totally an internal position. It's a union represented, it's represented by the local. Whether it's past practice or on black and white, it's coming from within the bargaining unit. The wage range that you see on there is the requirements. You either have to be a company officer or be a top journeyman firefighter. Those are the two overtime wage ranges for either a captain or a journeyman firefighter. So it's up to 8 hours a week, plus they get to go to training. The reason that we need this assignment profile is because we have to sign, affidavit's not the right word, but we basically have to be able to sign a letter stating that, yes, this person is in the prevention division or is in line to become a fire marshal or inspector or something, particularly for classes at the NFA level or other things like that. We've got to be able to tell them that this is not just somebody who's taken the class out of interest. There's a reason why we need to have this person in this class. So this just goes back and covers all the work.
Okay.
CYA kind of thing.
So is there a motion to approve the fire inspector assignment profile?
So moved.
Any discussion, comments, concerns?
I had some questions earlier in the week. Jason answered them for me through an email. I'm fine.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Fleet mechanic job description, this is just an introduction for us to review. So I think we got a clean version and a track changes
Should
version.
have a clean and a track changes.
A lot of traction.
Change.
Well, there is a lot of changes, but mostly it's because of the formatting. This was also a very old job description. So I think it's from 2008, so a couple
And
things have changed.
I mean, is there any reason why we can't approve this, or is there, I mean, I know it came in late.
Traditionally, we've done a 30-day review. I was trying to respect that. I realized I stepped out of bounds with the assignment profile and the job description on the AC. And I had wise counsel from somebody else to not do that to you.
Your boss?
Yes. She said, don't try to slam these through, that you should give them a 30-day review. 30-day review wouldn't be horrible, because if we approve everything all at once, everything has to the expectation is everything happens all at once, and I can only throttle HR so much, her own drive to work.
Okay.
So 30-day review would actually be okay.
So
All right.
we don't need to hire this position tomorrow.
Well, Ryan may have a different opinion.
Right. Well, okay. Anyone else have any thoughts, input? It's before us. Other than semantic spelling and punctuation, I don't know that I have a whole lot of input or interest in.
It's moving into the new format.
Sure. All right, so you have it before you. We'll approve it at the next meeting. It can go on the agenda for our next meeting. Correspondence. Okay, so you also saw that we had some communication with Representative Larson's office. I actually called them this week and asked that they get back to me if there has been any movement on any of this, and I haven't received a call back, which is unusual because they've been very responsive. I'm wondering if gearing up for the inauguration and the whole national political scenario that they might be busy right now, but my expectation is to hear back from them.
Change of leadership in our own state.
Right. Yes, and then I think our governor gets sworn in on the 18th. Somewhere.
Saturday.
Anyway, before the presidential will not be. And then this nice legal boundary review board document.
Thank you.
For the Linden annexation.
Yeah.
So this Linden annexation of the 21.35 acres, does that then become their fire response area if they,
Yes.
okay, so it's not like they're gonna build all these houses and we're gonna serve them.
Well, they can't.
I mean, I know through mutual aid, but technically, it becomes their response area.
Correct.
That was out of the 40, 50 pages of that was my question. And then we had some thank yous. We had a letter of support from Senator Schumacher. And then our newsletter. So. Next.
Bob took the chair yesterday. He was sworn in yesterday.
Oh, okay. He's off a day or two. Okay. Next month's meeting is scheduled for February 20th.
Okay.
Everyone good for next?
I'm gonna call in family reunion month.
Okay.
So,
You'll be out of state?
yes,
Okay, but you can Zoom,
absolutely.
all right? Good? All right. Next meeting, you've got Station 63, Station 62, fleet mechanic job description. Anything else that we've, oh, Matt, you wanted to report on your strategic planning thing? Do you want that on the agenda?
If it's an appropriate month to do so, yes, I don't, if it's a quieter calendar, sure, that would be good. Yes, it'll be perfect, assuming I have all the information.
Yeah, I mean, it can be tentative or.
Yep.
Whatever.
That'd be lovely, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Anyone else have any items for next meeting? All right, we need an executive session. I'm gonna say till 12:15. And I don't know that there will be any formal action after executive session, so. We'll break. This executive session is for the board only. So, let me know when we're offline. Our microphones are on.
Yep.
All right, we're reconvened after executive session. It's 12:25. We've got documents to sign. I move to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. I told you.